Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are diving right into the 1980s world of Eleanor and Park. We're really going to unpack how this incredibly quiet, intensely real story just totally captivated millions of readers and honestly completely rewrote the rulebook for your typical young adult romance. We aren't just looking at some standard high school crush here. No, we're talking about a narrative that digs deep, really deep, into themes of intense loneliness, emotional survival, and somehow finding a totally safe space in the absolute last place you'd ever expect.
So, let me ask you something. Can simply sitting next to someone actually save their life? Like, literally save them? Let's totally rethink what it means to rescue someone for a second. Because, actually, saving a life isn't always some grand cinematic gesture where a superhero sweeps in, right? Sometimes it's just offering a seat to a total stranger on a damp, rainy school bus. And that's exactly what this entire narrative hinges on. Two teenagers who felt completely invisible to the rest of the world. You've got a girl who is relentlessly bullied for her appearance, and a boy who just never felt truly understood by anyone. That is, until they serendipitously end up sitting next to each other on that bus.
Moving into Phase 1, The Outcasts. Two invisible teenagers.
Okay, so to really grasp the massive emotional weight of this story, we've got to look at the intense isolation our two characters are dealing with right from the jump. The contrast between them is absolutely wild. On one side, we have Eleanor. She's the new girl, rocking bright red curly hair, oversized clothes, and she is an immediate, totally unavoidable target for the most relentless bullying. Literally, nobody wants her sitting next to them. And then, on the other side, there's Park. Now, Park is super reluctant to step in. His absolute main goal in life is to just blend into the background and completely avoid drawing any attention to himself. But, despite being terrified of what people might think, he ultimately chooses to offer her a seat. And the crazy part? Neither of them realize it yet, but that one tiny, awkward moment is going to make Eleanor the absolute most important person in his entire world.
Which brings us to Phase 2, The Sanctuary, building a realistic romance. The absolute magic of their connection is totally rooted in the fact that there is zero perfect movie magic here. It is just a brilliant, brilliant slow burn. It all unfolds so organically. It starts with just sitting in pure, awkward silence every single day. Then Park catches Eleanor stealthily reading his comic books over his shoulder, and instead of getting annoyed or pushing her away, he shares them. This natural progression leads to sharing mixtapes, and suddenly, music literally becomes their own private language, which naturally flows right into falling in love. Without even realizing what's happening, just by moving from dead silence to sharing these tiny pieces of themselves, these two incredibly lonely kids slowly become each other's safe place. They basically inadvertently become each other's whole universe.
So why does this story hit readers so hard? Well, unlike some super polished fairy tale where everything is perfectly wrapped in a bow, this romance is anchored in raw, messy human reality. The conversations are super awkward, the emotions totally messy and uncertain. There is absolutely no perfect fantasy happening here. Actually, at first, Park is terrified of being judged by his peers for even liking her, but he pushes past that fear because, well, she's real. The story just so perfectly captures the messiness, that all-consuming obsession, and the deep, deep nervousness we all remember from our own first loves. It doesn't even try to be magical, it just tries to be fundamentally human.
And that leads us right into Phase 3, The Threat, when reality closes in.
Now things take a really dark turn as we start to uncover exactly why Eleanor so desperately needs this newfound connection. We really have to look at the brutal contrast in her life to understand her day-to-day reality. On the bus, she finally has this peaceful, quiet acceptance. It's a true sanctuary for her. But her life off the bus? It's terrifying. She lives in deep poverty, zero privacy, and she's dealing with a stepfather who is intensely abusive, controlling, and just plain dangerous. When you realize that, it suddenly clicks that the school bus is way, way more than just a way to get to school. Sitting next to Park is literally the only peaceful part of Eleanor's entire day.
And that brings us to a really powerful definition of a word we throw around a lot, which is survival. But in the context of Eleanor and Park, survival totally isn't about fighting off zombies or physical battles. It's about finding just one single person who makes an incredibly terrifying and cruel world bearable. When Park sees Eleanor's pain, her insecurity and her fear, and instead of walking away like anyone else might, he chooses her anyway, wow. That choice completely transforms the relationship from just a cute high school crush into a literal matter of emotional survival. For Eleanor, this love isn't just a romance, it is an absolute lifeline.
Now we hit Phase 4, The Aftermath. Life interrupts beautiful things.
So as the bullying gets relentlessly worse at school and her home life reaches an absolutely terrifying breaking point, the story forces us to confront this heartbreaking reality head-on. As the source material so perfectly puts it, love alone may not be enough to save them. Eventually, the situation at Eleanor's house just becomes way too dangerous. She is forced to flee. Suddenly, no warning and totally without closure, leaving Park absolutely heartbroken. And this is the part where the narrative just emotionally devastates the audience because it doesn't sugarcoat anything. It proves that real life often comes in and destroys incredibly beautiful things. Their love felt so genuine, so real, and yet, life still tears them apart.
And the ending, oh man. The ending of this story is famous for being just painfully ambiguous. Months after she runs away, Park finally gets a mysterious postcard from Eleanor in the mail, and it carries only 3 simple words. 3 words that readers are literally still debating today. And honestly, it is such a brilliant ending, because it perfectly mirrors that messy, imperfect reality we were talking about earlier. Not every love story gets a neat little bow at the end. Sometimes people leave, sometimes life just ruthlessly interrupts happiness. But, and this is key, the lack of a traditional cinematic happy ending doesn't mean the love they shared wasn't completely real. At its core, you see, this is a story about 2 somewhat broken teenagers just desperately trying to protect each other from a really harsh world. Eleanor and Park may have been physically torn apart by their circumstances, but their story really forces us to pause and reflect on our own lives. Is a first love ever truly forgotten? Going through this explainer, we really see that a love story doesn't actually have to last forever to change us forever. It's a huge reminder of just how powerful a connection can be, especially when you've grown up feeling completely invisible. So I'll leave you with this. What do you think? Does a connection really have to be permanent to be profound? Keep that in the back of your mind as you reflect on the mechanics of this beautifully tragic romance.